Most valuable George Washington stamps Part 3. The 1-cent stamp of 1938. Depicted in the center. The bust of George Washington, first President of the United States of America. This piece. It is part of the series called Prexes. A series featuring portraits of 29 presidents. 12 of them. They had never appeared on a U.S. postage stamp before. This series was made in response to public demand to issue a new collection where the presidents were represented. Top right. The written United States postage. Down. The name and surname of the president. Followed by the year he served as President George Washington. Since 1789 to 1797. More down. The nominal value of the piece. 1 cent of the U.S. dollar. Postage stamp issued on April 25, 1938. 20,804,000 pieces were issued. It has an 11 by 10.5 serration. And it's worth $30. The 1962 5-cent stamp depicts the first American president, remembered by history mainly for having played a fundamental role in the American Revolution. Down. You will be able to see the nominal value of the piece. 5 cents of the American dollar. Followed by the writing. US Post. 200 years before the issue of this piece. Washington. He was making himself known in the military field, especially in the French-Indian War. Duration 7 years. From 1756 to 1763. Between France and the English colonies in America. Postage stamp issued on November 23, 1962. Was issued in millions of copies. It has an 11 by 10.5 serration. And it's worth $32. The 1967 5-cent stamp. It is part of the series called Prominent Americans Series. A collection of stamps. Planned to initially honor 18 people. Later another 7 were added. This piece. Depicted in the center. The bust of George Washington. First President. He was much loved by the American people. During his political career, he has successfully solved many of the necessary problems to transform the government established by the United States Constitution in a fully functional government. Up. His surname is reported. Washington. Followed by the nominal value of the piece. 5 cents of the American dollar. To the left. The written United States postage stamp issued on November 17, 1967. Was issued in millions of copies. And today it is worth $35. The 1982 20-cent stamp depicts President George Washington facing right. Issued on the occasion of the 250th anniversary of his birth. In 1732. A peculiarity about Washington that many don't know. It concerns his great ability to have created an espionage network in New York City. Before the Civil War, he organized and created a complex espionage machine made up of almost 1,000 people, all identifiable with a number above the bust. The year 1732 is reported. Washington and state of birth. And 1982. Date of the 250th anniversary and issue of this piece. Down. The written USA. Followed by the nominal value of the piece. 20 cents of the American dollar. Postage stamp issued on February 22, 1982. Was issued in 180,700,000 copies. It has an 11 serration. And it's worth $45. The 3-cent stamp of 1939. Commemorates the 150th anniversary of George Washington's inauguration. Appointed on April 30, 1789. As the first President of the United States of America. You will see it pictured on the balcony of the Senate chamber in Federal Hall on Wall Street while taking the oath. Up. The writing indicating the commemoration of the event. All below. The date. 1789. Year of George Washington's presidential inauguration. 1939. Year of printing and anniversary of the stamp. Lower. The nominal value of the piece. 3 cents of the American dollar. A curiosity about his election. is that he was the only president in the history of the United States of America to have been elected without a dissenting vote, but unanimously. Postage stamp issued on April 30, 1939. Was issued in 72,764,000 pieces. It has an 11 serration. And it is valid in the philatelic market. $60. The 23-cent stamp from 2002. Depicted in the center. The face of President George Washington. A curiosity about him is that he owned many slaves. He acquired his first slaves already when he was 11 years old. And during his lifetime he came to possess 316 of them. There are many rumors about Washington. It is thought that he was a very strict master, and that he used both the reward, that the punishment, to encourage and discipline his subjects. He was also forced to sign under his government the Fugitive Slave Act, a reform that extended the denial of freedom also to the slaves who escaped and were freed by their masters themselves, without the possibility of obtaining a fair trial by jury. Despite it all, many rumors also narrate in a Washington who strongly wanted their emancipation, even if his political role actually prevented it. Top right. You will be able to see the writing USA, followed by the nominal value of the piece, 23 cents of the US dollar. Postage stamp released on June 7, 2002. Was issued in millions of copies. It has an 11 serration. And it's worth $110. The 20-cent stamp of 1863 depicts the bust of President George Washington. Piece issued in the face of coin shortage. The Confederacy printed these 20-cent stamps to be used mainly as a trade exchange. Above the bust, you will be able to see the nominal value of the piece, 20 cents of the American dollar. On the side, the writings, the Confederate States of America. Down, the nominal value reported in letters. 100 years prior to the issue of this piece. In 1763, Washington served as a member of the House of Burgess, the first chamber of deputies elected by the people. In the new American world, postage stamp issued in 1863. It was issued in a few 100,000 copies. And today it is worth $750.